They don't fake somebody getting shot in the ear. You can see it. Real people died there. And so it's just, to me, preposterous when this is going down and the deep state's definitely against Trump.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wake Up Call channel. I had to do a video on CIA operative Alex Jones, COINTELPRO, how the alt-right media and Jones are handling the staged assassination attempt on Donald Trump. It's becoming comical at this point, watching how these people are shilling for a news story that was created by the deep state. I love how these people pretend like the deep state is a thing, which it is, but they don't control all of the news, which means all the information that comes out comes through the deep state, which means every story surrounding the shooter comes from the deep state, right? For example, Alex Jones tweeting out about how the plot is thickened, cell phone data showing frequent visitor to Crooks and FBI building. So the shooter was supposedly going to the FBI building. Well, who's giving this data out? Who's giving this out to them? The deep state themselves are feeding them this information because they want the narrative that Trump is against the FBI and the CIA and the deep state. So you can see how defensive Jones was in that first clip. He says, you can't fake getting shot in the ear. Well, why couldn't you fake getting shot in the ear? You can't fake somebody dying, which again is the common theme, which is why there was a casualty at the event. Why was there a casualty? Because look how quickly, if you bring up to people that the event was staged, they throw the fireman right in your face without even thinking for 5 seconds. Somebody died, somebody died, somebody died. Well, that's exactly how the government gets these false flag events to be believable, by having someone die. If nobody died and 8 shots were fired and all one did was nick his ear, when we know that DARPA has the ability to use smart bullets, well, then people might become suspicious. Now, the government, again, if they wanted Donald Trump dead, he'd be dead. Anybody who doesn't have that mindset is just telling themselves this because they need this story and they need Donald Trump to grab onto. They want to put their hope in man. And I'm going to play a longer clip of Alex Jones talking about this stuff. And it's almost like he's even talking about me. Now, I know I don't matter anymore, but I know Jones is familiar with my work over the years, because when he starts talking about signs and symbols and how these crazy people expose signs and symbols, he's referring to me specifically, because I'm one of the people that have always exposed signs and symbols. Now, I never take things out of context when people are holding up a symbol, because I understand that if a baseball player is holding up the devil horns and saying 2 outs, he might actually just be saying 2 outs. So we can't get ridiculous with the stuff that we expose, because people do make hand motions, they do make gestures, and we know when they're deliberate and when they're not deliberate. But the notion of Jones talking here about how it's preposterous to think the event is staged. Well, why would it be preposterous to think the event is staged? This is the point. This is the problem with the alt-right media. And this is how they expose themselves as government operatives, because the notion of the news being fake is not something that they discuss. Alex Jones is going to come out and say, well, it's staged and the news is fake, and they make the news so that they could manipulate you and herd you like cattle and make you think that someone's a hero when they're not a hero through a deep hypnosis, which is what you're seeing. The majority of these people don't want to wake up. It's just clear that most of them want this story of Trump against the deep state to be real. So much so that they refuse to look at the actual evidence. They refuse to look at the fact that the government has the type of technology that Trump could be taken out in a blink of an eye. I mentioned in my previous video, before I play you these clips of Alex Jones trying to debunk the event being staged, which is just him screaming and yelling about how it's just a preposterous notion. Just like, of course, Alex Jones went to court, and instead of actually asking for real evidence about the event that happened up at the Hook at Sandy, Alex Jones did nothing but apologize and say that he made up the story for clicks, which again was done by design so they could set a precedent for people like me and you to get taken to court and sued for a lot of money if we disagree with the news. That's the point. All Jones would have to do is bring that up, and of course, all of Jones's little cronies, info warriors, run around and talk about how Alex Jones didn't bring up anything in court because his lawyers told him not to, as if that's a valid excuse that we should all accept. Again, if I ever get taken to court, which they'd be real dumb to ever do, I want legitimate evidence. I want a legitimate trial. all these events that happen on the news, what's the common theme? There's never a trial, is there? Once in a while, you'll get one like at Parkland. Once in a while, you'll get one. But you certainly won't get one in this case because, well, there's nothing to even have a trial over because nothing actually occurred. And again, DARPA smart bullets could have taken out Trump in the blink of an eye. They wouldn't make a Manchurian candidate kid go up there and then have no other shooters on any other location capable of having a direct hit on Trump when he's sitting out wide in the open. But of course, when they use the narrative of divine intervention, when they start playing to their audience and playing to God and pretty much just straight up blasphemy is what it is. The fact that these people have the audacity to come out there, and that's what bothers me the most, is that they play to the Christians and they are manipulating them and as if these people could speak on behalf of God, and they still don't think it's blasphemous. If I was one of these Trump supporters and I heard this stuff, I still would say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who are you to say it's divine intervention? Don't speak on behalf of God. But these people don't want to hear that because they want to put their hope so much so in man. So Jones talks about how it's not even possible, right? But then he feeds his audience all this stuff about cell phone data of crooks, how there was a second shooter, how we saw somebody leave the scene. And these people out there don't even realize that where's he getting this information? Is he on the phone with Verizon? Is he getting this stuff from them? All the stuff and all the narrative they're being fed is being fed from the actual media. And of course, what's the other thing that Jones and the alt-right is doing? They're patting themselves on the back, just like these false prophets are. They're patting themselves on the back when the government themselves has been telling us for years, and I'm a perfect example of that. They've been telling us for years that there was going to be an assassination attempt on Trump. I have dozens of videos. I not once came out and said, give me credit, pat me on the back, because they've been telling us this. And if you pay attention, they've been telling everyone this. So people who think that they're prophets, all they've been doing is repeating something that's been getting subliminally, jump cuts have been sent to them on a day in, day out basis from stories of Kathy Griffin and Snoop Dogg to the Nutcracker over Christmas that the White House released. All of these images of Trump with Abe Lincoln, they've been subliminally telling you it was coming. Nobody is making any predictions here. This is called predictive programming. And the other thing that's out there, of course, is that Alex Jones is also talking about the Bohemian Grove footage. If you didn't see the video I did on the Bohemian Grove cremation of care, Alex Jones is gaslighting his audience about the footage that was actually released. He says, we commend the many journalists, including Dancer, who risked their freedom to bring this information. That is the public interest to the forefront. And again, that's because Alex Jones was allowed into Bohemian Grove. And he's grabbing onto that right now, the notion of him going in and infiltrating Bohemian Grove, because it builds credibility for Jones. But people out there aren't using any common sense, and they don't realize that the technology that the government has, nobody would be able to get inside of Bohemian Grove. Your phone in your pocket would ping if you became within any radius of a security zone where they don't want you anywhere near it. You wouldn't be sitting up on a hill or nobody sees you filming, then be allowed to upload it to YouTube. Of course, now suddenly they've gotten that video footage removed from the guy's channel, right? Which just gives it more credibility. Oh my goodness, they removed it so you can fight a copyright strike. But Jones is trying to give credibility to that as well. So I want to play for you this clip in its entirety because the person calls up and he's somebody who's saying that he doesn't believe what happened to Donald Trump was real. And everybody out there should have woken up over this assassination, which tells you how deep the hypnosis is. This is one of the worst false flag events they've ever done. And it's not even a false flag, it's a psyop. And we're seeing the psyop and how it's affecting people's minds. But he calls up and he says, I don't think it's real. And he, of course, Alex Jones automatically says, well, you know, because the guy's referencing Hulk Hogan being there and how it's theater. Probably the guy might have stumbled upon one of my videos. And this whole notion of Hulk Hogan and how it's, you know, over the top. And Alex Jones just dismisses it by saying somebody died. You can't fake getting shot in the ear, but you very easily could fake getting shot in the ear. It's not really a good argument to make. In fact, one could make an argument that victimizing Trump, like I've been saying over and over and over again with these fraud sham trials and then having him be shot, is a genius idea by the deep state to turn someone into a martyr so they gain more support so that those people can be led off of a cliff, which is what's coming with this fake outcome of this fake election. But listen to Jones even go into detail at the end, and he's got some other guy on there, couldn't be more cringy. These InfoWars guys that they hire and put on. Oh my goodness, they are the absolute worst. Makes me yearn for the days of the old YouTube guard of truthers that used to be around, looking at what some of these new guys are. But he goes into detail about signs and symbols, and he wants to discredit the notion that signs and symbols rule the world, that these people reveal themselves through signs and symbols, by saying, oh, he held up devil horn, someone took a screenshot. You know, like I could take a screenshot of him holding up the 666 sign, which he does, but I actually wouldn't say that that's him holding up the 666 sign as much as it's him ranting and moving his arms around. But there's clearly photographs of all of these people doing all-seeing eye symbols, of all these celebrities, and there's 100% truth to what they're doing if you understand how signs and symbols work. But here is Jones shilling for the deep state, never giving his audience the notion that this could be staged, and it is staged because the news is staged, and the news warps your perception of reality. This is how the alt-right media gatekeeps. This is how the alt-right media doesn't even bring up the notion of how and why something like this would be fake, especially the notion of why. Most people go, why would they fake the news? Because they can't even grasp the news itself being fake. Well, why wouldn't they fake the news? If these people own and control the news, which we all know, BlackRock, Vanguard, all these companies that own and control the news, who are the deep state, right? Why would they not fake the news? If you owned all the news stations and your idea was to dupe the public into giving up their freedoms and changing their perspective, why would you not fake the news? Wouldn't it be one of the first things you sat and talked about? Well, how can we manipulate people into doing this? Well, why don't we just script the news, everything on the news? We'll just make up stories and we'll manipulate them, and then we'll make a hero. Well, how do we make a hero? Well, we make him a martyr. We make somebody who is very relatable being persecuted by the government. They're losing their right to speak. The government's trying to take them to court. Rules for thee, not for me. We'll make them totally forget about the fact that this guy rolled out Operation Warp Speed and tried to get everybody poisoned. We'll just drop that because we control the media, so we won't bring that up anymore. Right? Then we'll release fake RFK videos to make people think that he never was in on it in the first place, right? I mean, this is basic mind control 101. And of course, Jones doesn't even give a credible answer. He just starts yelling and ranting, and everybody out there just goes along with it because they're like, yeah, it is preposterous. How could you fake getting shot in the ear? Oh, I don't know. These are the same people, of course, who follow InfoWars, who question some of these events that happen at schools, but you can't question it when it comes to Donald Trump. God forbid.
Well, then you're staged. In fact, I'll go to Garrett in a minute. But Garrett, I say you're CIA. I say everybody's bad. Nobody's good. You're bad. You work for Hulk Hogan. It is the same mindset. I know Trump. He's real. He's not perfect. He got shot. The deep state has done all these indictments and all these attacks and done all these things. So professional wrestling is a super popular thing. It's Americana. And so is UFC. Trump's associated with it all. I mean, hell, I'm associated with it because I know Joe Rogan forever. I've been to UFC things, you name it. So my issue here is they don't fake somebody getting shot in the ear. You can see it. Real people died there. And so it's just, to me, preposterous when this is going down and the deep state is definitely against Trump to then say it's staged. So explain to me, you mentioned a bunch of stuff. Oh, he knows Hulk Hogan and he was in movies, so that means he's whatever. Explain it to me. What are you saying Trump did? Who is he working for? Do we vote for Joe Biden or do we vote for Kamala Harris? What are you saying?
I say you vote for none of the above, and you vote for Jesus Christ, and you start telling all the info warriors out there to repent from idol worship and to vote for Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ only, because he's the only one that's going to save us from any of this. And you can...
Let me ask you, am I a fake? Am I an actor?
I don't think you're an actor all the time. I think you might say have some of the truth, but you might not be telling everybody the whole truth.
Well, I'm not God. I appreciate your call, so I don't know the whole truth. But I'll assure you, son, that I'm telling what I believe to be the truth. That is my North Star. That is what I want to hit. God, these people don't believe there's good. There's not just evil, folks. There's good, too.
Well, when you spend your whole life in Mordor, it's hard to believe that a place like the Shire exists.
Exactly. That's a good point. The people live in Mordor, so they don't believe that anything good exists.
Yeah. It's a dark time. And that's part of waking people up, is showing them the light. And just like in The Matrix, when he uses his eyes for the first time, he's like, my eyes hurt. Morpheus says, it's because you've never used them before. Right? It's an allegory of the cave in The Matrix. They redid the interpretation for that movie. It hurts when you see the light for the first time, but the light is real.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the light is everything. And so people sit back all day and analyze what I do, or I go, I'll tell a story about this symbol used to mean in Italy, ward off the devil. And then the Satanists took it over. And I'm saying a symbol is like a swastika was an Indian symbol, a Hindu symbol, a Buddhist symbol, and then Hitler took it over. And so I show a swastika. They go, look, he's showing a swastika. No, I'm showing this not in reverence to the devil. I'm showing this to show how a symbol can be anything. And they'll go, look, they'll take a screenshot of this today. They go, look, Jones just did this. We'll do it. Because I'm not doing this in reverence to the devil. It's just my fingers. It's something I can do. You need to judge people by the character of their deeds, by the fruits of the tree, not by the symbol, because symbols can mean anything. It's incredible.
So there's his rant. I mean, that's just as cringy as it gets. But the guy calling in, right, he's talking about vote for Jesus. And you could hear, Jones has been peddling the whole divine intervention theory, how all of his sources that he gets all his information from God. He gets his information from the government. Everybody knows that. And all the things that he's predicted aren't predictions. All the things that he's said, I've said years in advance. And is it a prediction for me? No, it's not. Because if you break down the stuff that they show you and you show the repetition and the pattern, it's not a prediction. It's not a prophecy. It's the government showing you and revealing themselves to you right in front of your face. It's just a matter of catching it, watching the news in a conscious state of mind, thinking when you're watching it, seeing patterns, and then revealing the patterns. But what these people want to do is they want to keep you trapped in the hive mind. And the hive mind starts and ends with the left and right, with the Republican and Democrats, with the alt-right media herding and gatekeeping for the left and right paradigm. That is the ultimate tool of enslavement. Divide and conquer is the motto of the New World Order, and it comes through the left and right divide. Alex Jones will not give any attention to the notion of the news itself being staged. He'll just dismiss it like that and say, oh, what? How do you fake getting shot in there? Pretty easily when the guy's out there and he doesn't even have a bandage on anymore and his ear's fine. If you've noticed, they've actually pivoted. They've pivoted from the assassination story and have just moved on to Kamala Harris and these other things, which is probably part of the reason they just swapped Biden with Harris, to bring more noise to that aspect of things, because they probably realized that a lot of people were questioning the validity of the news story, right? Now Donald Trump is out. He said, I'm not going to talk about it ever again. We're not going to bring it up again, right? His ear is fine. Now they're trying to even say that maybe, Jones is bringing attention to the FBI head, talking about, well, maybe he wasn't even hit by a bullet, right? Director Wray saying maybe there was no bullet in the first place, right? And don't be surprised if that is where the narrative ends up going, right? So that Democrats could say, he wasn't even really shot. And then conservatives will defend Trump and say he was really shot. And they'll go back and forth defending someone they've never met, that they don't know. And the only things they know about him are told to them through the deep state media. Right? Isn't it incredible how it works when you actually just start thinking to yourself? If the deep state controls the news, then they control the media. We all know about BlackRock, Vanguard. We know about these companies that own all the media. It's out of the realm of possibility for them to make up news stories. Oh, yeah, well, it's out of the realm of possibility, of course, if Donald Trump is a part of the plan and the alt-right media, which pretends to be censored and oppressed, and Alex Jones is sued for billions of dollars, yet he's on TV. Then he has to, whatever he's on his InfoWars. And of course, he makes himself a victim, but they're always talking about Alex Jones on CNN. They're always talking about Alex Jones on Joe Rogan, all these big shows, these big platforms that they give him. But if you pretend to be censored, of course, then your audience out there goes, oh, well, there's credibility to all this stuff. As long as they get their ears tickled. And what everybody seems to want to hear is that Donald Trump is trying to drain the swamp. They don't remember that his 4 years in Congress, 4 years as president, that's when the beginning of free speech was removed. I know from experience. That's when I lost a couple of channels. That's when all of us started feeling the censorship. That's when that whole wipeout of the internet in 2017 came, where all of the truthers on YouTube got wiped off of YouTube and they had to come back under different false aliases, right? That happened in 2017. Who was the president? Oh, Donald Trump. Did Hillary go to jail? No. Did any of these people go to jail? No. Did that whole thing with the pizza parlor in D.C., was there an investigation of that? No. What ended up happening towards the end of that? Oh, right. The same guy rolled out that same potion that all the conservatives know is a poison potion, right? But they like to conveniently forget that. And somehow it shows you just how warped a lot of these people are, that they don't even realize that the whole Q thing is a CIA operation. The stuff that they're being fed from Q is some of the most preposterous, ridiculous stuff that we've ever seen. If you read some of the stuff about, JFK Jr. and different disguises is really calling the shots, the stuff that they're willing to believe because they want to believe it. That's the point. They want to believe it. The stuff is so poorly produced that you can tell that this psychosis and hypnosis they're under is because they refuse to come out of it. And they come to people like me and you, and they're mad at what we're talking about. I get people who are livid, talking as if I'm a Democrat and supporting Joe Biden. They can't wrap their head around the notion of both sides being controlled and the news itself being fake. They enjoy it too much to come out of the psychosis. So Jones and these people, they're taking phone calls, and then this is the way they peddle their disinfo, right? It's preposterous. How do you fake getting shot in the air? Really clear, really easy, actually. Same way you could fake, an entire school getting wiped out, a pop-up school that just popped up out of nowhere where there weren't even any real victims. And then, of course, you have the opportunity to blow the roof off that and let everybody know. But, of course, we all knew before that sham of a trial occurred that wasn't going to be what actually happened. Because everybody's known, going back to Bill Cooper, that Alex Jones was COINTELPRO. Everybody's known that. And the Bohemian Grove thing is how Jones built credibility without people realizing, he would never have gotten in there. And he certainly wouldn't have lived to tell about it. And that's why Jones is peddling these people, these kids that just somehow outsmarted the government and got in there. As if you could just sneak in there with all these politicians. There's no security, or they're outsmarting the security. They'd all be sitting ducks for a revolution to occur. Like they would actually go out there and do it. And again, the footage itself looked like cosplay. Didn't even look like real footage from the Grove. But Jones is, they risked their lives. Why? Because everybody is reminded of when Jones infiltrated. And instead of questioning the validity of it, they just go, Jones did infiltrate Bohemian Grove. He was the OG. It's absolutely incredible we're at this point in 2024, where all of these people are aware of the New World Order. They're aware of their control over the media. They're aware of all these people in Hollywood, how they work for the CIA, yet they think that the actual news itself is real. The easiest thing for them to control, they have full control over all of it. Every journalist, every television, every story that gets fed, which is why I always show you guys the examples of, let me use an example. When there's these large outages, let's just take AT&T, right? It happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, every single news affiliate across America has the same news story. And the same news story is the same exact script because they get fed a script. Now people go, well, that's a little bit different. That comes from an editor. Why would you think it would stop there? Why would everybody think when we see the footage, that everybody knows from Sinclair Broadcasting, why would you think it would just stop there with a script? If I was a sick person like these people are, and you were a sick person like these people are, wouldn't you say, well, I want total control? Okay, if you want total control, people, and you own the news, why would you not make it up? Wouldn't that be the easiest way to manipulate and mold people? Especially when it comes to Fink and all these guys talking about behavioral control. Well, what better way than warping their perception of reality, right? Because remember, everybody's seeing the reality they think is real through the lens of a television, right? Through the lens of a television. That's why it was so important for them to have Trump do this at a rally. If the government wanted Trump dead, they'd kill him in the night. They'd kill him at a golf course somewhere where he's out wide in the open and somebody easily probably could do something, right? Why do you think they had to do it during a rally? Because they had to make sure that you saw it. They had to make sure that everybody saw it, that there was footage of it for everyone to see so that they could say, look, it's real, it's on the news, right? And that's why Trump created the notion of fake news. That was deliberately done by the CIA. The notion of fake news, because people don't think further than, oh, it's fake news because they disagree with it. Instead of saying it's fake news, the whole thing is fake. It's a barrier in front of people actually questioning the validity of the news. Because if you go up to somebody and say the news is fake, they think you're talking about fake news. Like, so they're like, oh, CNN, oh yeah, the stuff they say about Trump, that is fake news. Instead of going, whoa, you're saying that the stories they air, that they actually stage shootings and other things on the news? Yeah. And for them, it blows their mind. But when you start breaking it down with just common sense points, they start going, right, why would that be out of the realm of possibility? Well, when you're watching the news, you're not in a conscious state of mind. So it's very easy to manipulate you. I went through this in many of my videos about mind control, right? And wavelengths and how you can go into a delta state and you could just be easily programmed. That's what wavelengths do, and that's what the news does. So then your perception of reality is just something that you see in a box. You're not there, right? And even if some people were there, which is very hard to believe, even if some people were there, why would you think that they couldn't stage the entire thing? You go to a play and you watch somebody in the play get shot. Do you run on the stage and try to say, oh my gosh, he was shot? Oh no, you're watching a play. So you're going, oh, okay, guy was shot. Wow, great acting. Oh, and he gets up and they move on, and they've practiced this many times, so they know how to do the fake blood and they know how to do this. That's how rehearsals work, right? That's what you see when you go to the theater. So what's out of the realm of possibility? That Trump would be actually staging it, that he would be acting it out? Why is that out of the realm of possibility, right? Guy used to be best friends with Oprah, the Clintons. What, all of a sudden he changed his political beliefs? Who would be the ultimate alpha male type of character that they could put in this role that people could relate to and love as a conservative? Who's better on the microphone? I mean, if they put Mitt Romney or somebody in there, nobody would care. Nobody would be emotionally invested. They'd be like, Mitt Romney? Okay, no thanks. Turn the TV off. Not invested. I don't care. They can vote Democrat. They can vote whatever they want. Trump was the perfect character. And this New World Order only moves forward with Donald Trump alive. And that's why he's alive, because he's part of the game. And if you still watch and believe the news, if you turn the news on and you're like, well, you know, the news is, it's information. I'm getting information. And you don't realize that the news is there for control. If you don't realize that the news is a work, so to speak, that they're working you, well, then they've got you. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. Share this video. God bless all of you and your families as always.